From Tesla stores to federal buildings across the nation, many are taking up signs and megaphones in a widespread protest against the Trump administration 1 month into the president's term. The moves he has made that has allies overseas rethinking their allegiances.
Well, we start this afternoon with a live look outside, and don't let the sunshine from earlier fool you. Those clouds are back, and the cold is still biting across the Lone Star States. Now, one effect the Austin area has seen is fire danger. Investigators say a space heater caused an early morning fire yesterday at a car shop in North Austin. AFD says the flames destroyed power lines and led to a power outage impacting more than 400 Austin Energy customers.
And last night on Barton Springs Road, a fire sparked at a condo complex. One person was evaluated by EMS and one dog was rescued. No one was allowed back into their homes after the fire was put out. AFD though is working to help ensure everyone displaced has a place to stay. Due to the freezing temperatures, the water firefighters used to fight the blaze turned to ice as it traveled through the air.
And we're joined now by Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon. So, Nick, when are we going to break from the chill?
Probably not until Sunday, later in the afternoon. So we've still got another couple frigid days, and we may throw in some ice concerns into that as well. No icing on the way tonight, just more chilly air. Right now, at least, thanks to the earlier sun, we're above freezing in a lot of spots, including Austin right now at 35, 37 in LaGrange. We do have a few areas in the hill country that have already dropped back down to freezing, and we expect another night with a hard freeze with widespread lows in the 20s. So instead of an extreme cold warning, which is for colder either air temperatures or wind chills, we have a cold weather advisory. So to lesser extent will it be cold, but it's still going to be cold, and we'll have wind chills dropping into the teens in some areas. That cold weather advisory begins at 9 tonight, runs until 9 tomorrow morning. Clouds overtaking the area quickly. You can see in Georgetown the boundary between the clouds and the sunshine from our Ewald Kubota weather camera, and these clouds will continue to take over from southwest to northeast. So if you're not cloudy yet, you will be very soon. Temperatures down to 33 at 7, 31 at 11. It will be a dry night, another cold night. Don't forget the 4 Ps here tonight. So the cold not done yet. We'll track the timeline of a potential icy mix to enter the weekend and how quickly we transition back to some warmth.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. And turning now to widespread protests across the country with dozens of federal workers and their supporters calling on the Trump administration to end a funding freeze and massive job cuts at federal agencies. In Washington, D.C., 100 activists blocked traffic in front of the SpaceX office in downtown D.C. to protest Elon Musk's role in the government's restructuring. In Arizona, 3 people were arrested after they stole a police car and damaged another one during a protest against the Trump administration's immigration policies. Police reportedly deployed tear gas during that protest. And demonstrators also gathered outside a Tesla store in San Francisco as part of a nationwide effort to push back and save essential services. Going in depth, although there is no official figure available for the total number of layoffs and firings, we're getting an idea of how many federal employees have lost their jobs so far. At the Department of Veterans Affairs, I should say, more than 1,000 employees who had served for less than 2 years were laid off. At the Department of Education, at least 39 people have been fired, including student aid officials and special education experts. The Department of Energy, U.S. officials confirm as many as 350 employees in the National Nuclear Security Administration lost their jobs. Health and Human Services says the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention officials were told that they would lose nearly 1,300 probationary employees, but the final number was closer to 700. And then Homeland Security probationary cuts included over 130 workers in cybersecurity and infrastructure security.
The effects of all the changes brought on by the Trump administration are really being felt around the world as changes in tariffs, foreign aid, and Mr. Trump's embrace of Russia have rapidly shifted the status quo. As
NBC's Yamiche Alcindor reports, abroad allies are now rethinking their alliances, but the president's supporters applaud all these changes.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
President Trump took the oath of office just 1 month ago, setting off a dizzying series of executive orders and changes to the federal government.
And there is no denying this administration is off to a historic start.
The president has signed 73 executive orders, most of them focusing on government and foreign affairs, specifically immigration.
And we're trying to make our government smaller but much stronger. We offered deferred resignation buyouts to all federal workers.
Though there is no guarantee the workers will receive the money offered. President Trump also created the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. And he has praised billionaire Elon Musk and DOGE for moving quickly to shrink the federal workforce.
I was fired yesterday morning,
leading to nationwide protests. Musk has essentially dismantled entire agencies and cut programs that don't align with the president's agenda. And at the height of tax season, thousands of terminations are coming to the Internal Revenue Service.
There's a lot of anxiety.
I'm particularly concerned about refunds. As the ranking Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee, we focus on services to taxpayers, and I'm very concerned about the possible delay in refunds.
With DOGE staffers working inside the Pentagon, the Defense Department says Secretary Pete Hegseth is ordering officials to find a way to cut the budget by $50 billion. The swift moves bringing change and confusion to President Trump's first month in office. Despite some controversial picks, nearly all of President Trump's cabinet nominees have been confirmed. Only the Secretaries of Labor and Education are waiting for full Senate votes. And late this afternoon, the Senate voted to confirm Kash Patel as the new head of the FBI. That's an agency he once discussed dramatically restructuring. In Washington, Yami Shalsendor, NBC News.
And back home, the Trump administration's change in funding priorities could put Austin's Cap and Stitch project in jeopardy. We're talking about the plan to build deck plazas and green spaces over I-35 near downtown in UT when TxDOT lowers and reconstructs the freeway. Now, this would cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and the city thought it had secured a $100 million federal grant for the project. But Austin transportation staff say that grant could now be on shaky ground.
I, too, am not an alarmist, but I would not be doing my job if I did not make it very clear that this is a very different time in terms of funding availability for projects. Those types of large grants may be out of reach for us for some time.
And late last year, the Austin City Council was able to push a vote that committed to building those caps and stitches. And we last reported the council would need to decide if they want to move forward with that funding next month and let TxDOT know for their own planning purposes. The I-35 project isn't the only transportation grant in question. Others include funding for the Barton Springs Road Bridge replacement, the Safer Streets for All project, and there's also roughly $300 million for the airport expansion project. In all, the city says it received $1.2 billion in grants over the last 4 years. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell, the longest-serving Senate leader in history, announced today on his 83rd birthday that he will not seek re-election next year. This brings an end to his 4-decade career in the chamber. McConnell was first elected in 1984, climbed his way up to Senate Republican leader in 2007, and then stayed there until earlier this year. McConnell will leave behind a complex legacy and a party that has transformed away from traditional conservatism into a party led by President Trump.
A Houston police captain has been arrested and charged with possession of child pornography. Captain Darren Blake Edwards was arrested in Galveston County last night. Shortly after his arrest, the Houston Police Department announced he had been relieved of duty pending the outcome of the internal investigation. Edwards served as a captain of the Auto Theft Division. The Lone Star State's top legislative leaders work to build a new future for education. The plan for education savings accounts teed up by the Texas House.
Plus 2 new options for getting around Austin. The new routes set up to Cap Metro riders this weekend. Well, after weeks of testing, Cap Metro will launch 2 new rapid service lines on Sunday. The new routes include the Pleasant Valley line from the Miller area to Slaughter Lane, also the Expo Center line running from Loyola and Decker lanes to Republic Square downtown. The new lines were the result of 3 years of planning and construction, but this is just the start. Cap Metro plans to launch its full vision for the new rapid lines next year.
While we might still be feeling the bite of winter, we are about a month out from the start of spring, and that means another spring festival season for downtown Austin. So today, the Downtown Austin Alliance held its annual Spring Festival Season Forum, discussing which roads would be closed, new routes and changes for Cap Metro, and some changes coming to emergency services, all as they prepare for the hundreds of thousands of visitors coming to town. For Austin Travis County EMS, mental health during the festivals is top of mind.
One thing that we are adding to this year's patient collection point is a dedicated community health paramedic. A community health paramedic is a paramedic that's been trained up to respond to mental health calls, mental health crisis. So we'll have a community health paramedic that's dedicated to mental health services.
The Austin Police Department says that last year they made 153 arrests and seized 46 firearms during the spring festival season.
This morning's low of 18 was our coldest low temperature of winter, and it also was another record low. The previous record on this day was 26 back in 2021. We did manage to climb above freezing, though, our unofficial high of 35. We've got some more chill left, though, before 70s return. We'll talk about an icing risk into the weekend in First Warning Weather.
The Texas State Representative unveiled legislation to provide billions in new funding for public schools and create education savings accounts program.
And this comes 2 weeks after the Senate passed its own ESA bill. It's a top priority for Governor Greg Abbott, which he calls school choice.
KXAN Capitol reporter Dylan McKim breaks down the bill package as some Texas Democrats say it doesn't do enough for public schools.
Governor Greg Abbott is going around the state to advocate for school choice.
I am all in.
On Wednesday, at the Texas Policy Summit, he said House Speaker Dustin Burrows is on his side.
He raised his hand and said that he, as Speaker, supports school choice in the state of Texas.
The Texas House is a hurdle school choice has not been able to get over in the past. Now we're getting a look at what House members will consider. State Representative Brad Buckley filed the bill.
And sometimes a public school environment just doesn't meet the needs of children.
It will give each student 85% of what the average public school student gets from state and local dollars. According to his office, that's a little more than $10,000 per year. The bill also prioritizes students with disabilities and low-income families. On top of that, he also filed a school finance bill that will increase the basic allotment by $220 per student. Schools can use that money to pay for operations and give teachers pay raises.
Provides more flexibility so local school districts can respond to the needs in the areas and the markets that they're in.
But it will face opposition from House Democrats, who say the basic allotment increase is far from enough.
This bill is inadequate, it's insufficient, and when you pair it with the voucher bill, it's going to take far more money out of our schools than could ever be put in this session.
There will once again be a battle on the House floor over the future of Texas education, and the outcome.
We'll have vigorous, respectful debate, many different ideas, but I believe that this bill will pass.
I've been hearing that since 2023. Voucher proponents have a habit of declaring victory prematurely.
Is still unclear. In Austin, I'm Dylan McKim.
And both bills will be assigned for debate in the House Education Committee. Representative Buckley told us that debate will begin soon. The Texas Senate Committee on Education met earlier today to discuss a proposal to increase teacher pay. The bill expands the current teacher incentive allotment program for high-performing teachers, and it also adds a new teacher retention program, giving schools more money to use for salaries for each teacher that has at least 3 years of experience and more money for teachers with at least 5 years of experience. The bill's sponsor, Brandon Creighton, says this is needed to help Texas compete on a national scale.
And Texas ranks about 15th in the nation in starting salaries for teachers. But for our experienced teachers, we rank 40th.
And according to Senator Creighton, 80% of funding increases in this bill would go toward across-the-board salary increases, with 20% going toward performance-based bonuses.
All right, Nick joins us once again, and even though it was still cold out there, it was nice to see the sun for a little bit.
I know, it was kind of confusing. What is that up there? We figured it out. We looked it up. It was the sun. Okay. It's going away in a hurry. Some of you have already lost it. And in Georgetown, you're losing that blue sky quickly as the clouds take over. You can see the boundary there between the clouds and the blue there from our Ewell Kubota camera again in Georgetown. And this line of clouds is moving northeast very quickly. Still, temperatures across the state quite a bit warmer in most places than yesterday. Right now, we're 7 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. Waco's 11 degrees warmer. Amarillo, 9 degrees warmer. The only places that were colder areas south of us where the clouds came in even earlier. Tonight, though, still going to be another night to remember the 4 Ps as we all drop back below freezing. Some significantly below freezing in the low 20s in parts of the hill country. In the metro eastern counties, we're looking at mid to upper 20s for overnight lows. That's still a hard freeze, but it's about 8 to 10 degrees warmer than it was for last night's low temperatures. So it's some consolation, perhaps. Here's how the temperatures look tomorrow. So we start in the upper 20s. We're crawling our way up to freezing by noon. It is going to be a slow process to warm tomorrow under cloud cover all day. And then we head into just the mid 30s for highs in the afternoon. Most of the day tomorrow looking dry. Tomorrow evening, night, potentially a different story. We're already seeing moisture coming back in the form of the clouds. And as this moisture deepens during the day tomorrow, we're going to start introducing chances for a little bit of rain. Now, this computer model a little slow on the arrival of the clouds, but you could see doing a good job for tomorrow, being gray but dry in the morning. Then we head into the afternoon tomorrow. There's going to be a low chance for a spotty sprinkle or a light shower. I think most of the precipitation is going to hold off until tomorrow evening when we get some areas of drizzle around. But notice the color starting to show up on clouds and radar. That's not just drizzle, that's freezing drizzle, freezing light rain showers starting to develop tomorrow evening. We're not thinking a heavy icing, but icing on some of those elevated surfaces and possibly bridges and overpasses developing Friday evening and night and continuing into Saturday morning as that pink color continues with temperatures mostly below freezing. And then as we crawl our way above freezing into the afternoon Saturday, we turn over to plain rain showers, and some of those will continue through Saturday night, even a low chance for rain Sunday morning early. So becoming cloudy if you're not already. Another freeze down to 27 here tonight. Our day tomorrow, 35. Just some spotty late day showers and drizzle, but those rain chances going up more tomorrow night. So rain chances during the day tomorrow at 20%. Tomorrow night, 30% as temperatures drop below freezing. And we'll be staying near or below freezing for several hours Saturday morning before we climb up to 40 in the afternoon. So transitioning over to rain, but a 60% chance that you get rain on Saturday. Doesn't look like a lot of rain Friday into Saturday, 1/10 of an inch to a 1/4 inch along and east of 35 with lower amounts west of 35. But near and west of 35 where we have the coldest temperatures, that's where the risk for icing is highest. Right now it looks like 0.05 of an inch of ice or less. Doesn't sound like much. But if that's on an elevated bridge, overpass, flyover, it could still make things slippery. So Friday night, Saturday morning travel could be a little dicey. Things improve later on Saturday. Sunday, a late morning shower possible before the sun comes out in the afternoon. 60 and then 70s much of next week.
Hamas released the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages. They are believed to be the bodies of a humanitarian, a mother and her 2 children, who have long been feared dead and had come to symbolize the nation's agony following the October 7, 2023 attacks. NBC's Hala Garini reports from Tel Aviv.
Israel has received the bodies of 4 deceased hostages, including the remains of 3 members of the Bibas family who had become symbols of the hostage crisis in this country. Among them, Kfir and Ariel Bibas. Those are the 2 children of Shiri and Yarden Bibas. Kfir only 8 months old when he was abducted. His brother, 4 years old. Also returned to Israel the remains of Oded Lifshitz. We understand from the Prime Minister's office here in the country that his remains have been now positively identified and that it is indeed the body of Oded Lifshitz, his daughter, who we'd spoken to just a few days ago, saying that because of his age, it would have been very difficult for him to survive in Hamas captivity for this long. The country is now looking forward to a more positive day for Israelis, which is the release of live hostages. There are 6 slated to be let go on Saturday. Those 6 will be the last remaining live hostages of phase 1 of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. There are over 30 remaining live hostages inside of Gaza, all men and all members of the military. Those should be released in phase 2, though there are many obstacles still facing both parties as far as getting that phase together, that phase to go ahead as planned. Hala Garani, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
Well, NBC Primetime is all new tonight at 7 o'clock. It's Law & Order, followed by Law & Order SVU at 8, then Found at 9 o'clock, before we're back with KXAN News at 10.